All right, hey, that looks a lot better. Much, much better. Alright, that's working. Yeah, I finally figured it out. There's a stupid little button on the OBS thing that says 360 view, and my old-timer ass, I must have misclicked it. It's like ordering your infantry to retreat right in the middle of a critical battle. Everybody gets killed. Yeah, it's a thing. Alright, I think this is going to pick up in the Battanian campaign again. Just to alert young guys especially, spoiler, we're just playing around a little bit here with version 1.3. Nobody should expect anything spectacular. I did notice that there's a possibility to have an alliance. As a spoiler alert, this is part of the Battanian campaign, and it's several hours ahead of the most recent live play. So if you're one of the guys that cares about stuff like that, to me it's a pretty minor thing, but some guys might be upset that they're watching, you know, material that's effectively 5 hours from the pre-release stuff. There's not really any spoilers to it. Unlike the Vlandian campaign that has a distinct storyline, this Battanian campaign was merely to explore the version 1.3 update. So I'm trying to load in here. It's taken forever for it to load my save file. Hopefully we don't have any other catastrophic technical difficulties there. There we go. All right, loading screen coming up. And I think this is going to pop up the Battanian campaign. If not, we'll see. Yeah, here we go. All right, so we got our character. We got a good-sized army here. A nice mix. We've been fiddling around with different unit tactics, and so the army composition is a mix right now with infantry heavy. I know a lot of guys would prefer that. So, we'll see how it goes. Can you guys hear me all right? Is the volume all right before we get too deeply involved? Is there anybody from Tail Worlds coming to end my stream because it's illegal? And now's your chance. We're going to start streaming. See if it's ignominious today. We had our little snafu. Water under the bridge. And make sure you guys can hear me before I continue here. Know how to do this. Hold on. Okay, I can hear myself. There we go. All right, well, we're just going to jump into this. I'm not worried about how many people watch. If it's just 3 of you tonight, that's just fine. We're going to have a little bit of fun tonight. We're going to do some tactics. I'll answer questions. This is a really good way for me to interact with you folks. The only reason I even exist as a channel, of course, is the people that come to watch. So if there's 5 of you tonight, that's awesome, man. We'll play some bad techno music, hopefully do some tactics here. And this is the other reason that I made this save game and was like, this might be a good opportunity to do some stuff here for a live stream. We've got our first player army in this Battanian campaign. Now, this guy here made a nice big army, and this is a really fun stage for me in a campaign. You start to get player clans. You start to give them some support. At this stage, of course, this Battanian campaign is rolling red hot. We've got this guy here, Ioran Dinars. Maybe we're 25 hours into this campaign. He's got a savage list of companions already that we've been leveling up. And so it sort of goes hand in hand with some of our episodes recently covering companions. And it's, it's going to be interesting to experiment a little bit, of course. Some of the episodes covering companions that show some of the material focused on these guys is still to come. I'm probably going to have 6, 7, 8 episodes in that series. That's my style. I've said it over and over again. If you want highly edited, super concise episodes, there are other YouTube content producers out there that do that better than me. Said it before, Strat Gaming Guide is a great option, and there are many others. I'm going to stick to what I'm good at, which is just sort of rambling and doing tactics, and talking about little things that I've learned in Bannerlord over a very long time. Yeah, we're finally live. We figured it out. Stupid little anybody who's doing that is streaming issues. There's a little button called 360 view that I accidentally clicked on the OBS software. It'd be nice if, you know, a warning came up and said, hey, if you stream like this, it's going to look like shit, dude. Are you sure you want to do that? So we've got it all fixed. And we're going to jump into battle right away here, I think. I mean, we'll see. We may not even get there in time. I said before, this is our Battanian campaign. We are playing with the RTS mod, but I'm not sure how stable it's going to be. There's a chance we crash to desktop. I would say I can play an hour typically before it does crash. The RTS mod with the 1.3, they're still working out some of the kinks. And indeed, we're going to be able to trap Vlandian force here. Now, what's interesting about this is we're the smaller of the two forces, and this is what I prefer to do late in a Bannerlord campaign. I like to make other armies, and I prefer they have the bulk of our troops roaming about Calradia, because might makes right in Calradia, and your AI opponents or your AI allies in this sake are not going to do very well on their own with small armies, right? They need a sizable force. We don't have very many armies to call. I don't know if there are any armies at all available, but we have, 500-ish troops in our army. I'm with one other companion, and the two of us are going to go around smashing stuff, and hopefully we can augment and help this other army. In this case, of course, we've helped him trap this Vlandian force. Now, this is going to be a nice first battle just to jump into here, make sure my settings are okay. We might have to adjust some of the things along the way here. We've got our legendary sledgehammer. Sledgehammers were nerfed, but at least I found a legendary one, right? And they're easy to find because they come a lot of times from villagers. So I think the stats are significantly reduced. It used to be, I think, a tier 4 was a sledgehammer. Now it's a tier 1. That's too bad. But it's been fun roaming the landscape with that and bashing people to pieces. Again, just to mention it, I'll try to mention it one more time. This is the Battanian campaign. We are about 5-6 hours ahead of the most recent episode that was released to YouTube. I think episode 8 has been released onto YouTube. This battle doesn't mean too much. We got a bunch of nobles here. Let's just stick them in some divisions here. I think this is just going to be a slaughter fest. And you can see we do have the RTS mode going, so we'll be able to cruise through some of these elements, which will be nice for you guys. If it does crash the desktop, I'll do my best to load the game up in a hurry. But generally, it's a lot more stable now. I'm using 1.31, the new Bannerlord beta, and I'm not sure what version actually this is the RTS mod. But whatever it is, it's Steam active. So you can, if you have the Steam account, you just hit that little subscribe button, and you should be able to load this up for your campaign. Archers continue to be uber accurate at long range. That's just a theme now of this. It's incredible, actually, how deadly and accurate archers are. And so, to that effect, right, we're running around with our Battanian force here just wrecking shop. Now, we don't have a lot of archers. It's probably... I have an 8th division of archers. Some of our divisions are a little haywire here. Let's see. Let's join the 8th to the 5th. It's fine. Let's split the 2nd Cav division to the 8th. I like to have 2 cav wings, right? Because you're almost always going to be attacked by multiple enemy cav wings. In this case, it does look like all their cavalry is on one side. So they have a little tiny vanguard back there of pathetic forces. And we're going to be able to make this force charge. Let's fuck with this side, too, over here. They got a big cav wall. This is something I've started doing recently. You know, they got all this cavalry over here, and they're menacing you like they're going to charge you. This is one of the things I like to do, is stick one cav division out in front and another cav division facing that 139 cavalry, and we'll just get shock troops and skirmishers behind them, so that when they do charge, they just get flat out obliterated by javelins and shock troops going crazy. It's going to be rather ugly. Now, charging with archers here, because some of these guys couldn't see, we'll get these Fian champs into order here, but again, this battle is going to be over in a blitz. If you didn't see beforehand, this is a battle where we were able to trap this Vlandian force with the companion army. We've got our first big companion army of this campaign in our Battanian force. Let's put this sledgehammer to work here. Looks like there's some nobles that want to be knocked from their horses. Absolutely the most fun weapons, for sure, was the sledgehammer. Just decking troops to the ground. Anybody gets near you, you just clobber them. Put the Lord on the ground. You don't have a horse anymore, do you? Now he's all vulnerable. Let's get a javelin in his back, right? You can get medieval on the masses. Hopefully they fix hammers, right? Hopefully there are more custom hammers that you can actually build. We're gaining levels here. The hammers previous to this were really strong. I could make an argument that it was one of the best weapons. So perhaps they nerfed it because of that, but I wish they wouldn't do that, right? They have... there were disadvantages of using hammers. I hope they're not just going to just turn it into a worthless weapon. And it's fun, right? We're playing Bannerlord for fun. Why wouldn't they allow us just to deck guys, right? So just an initial battle here. We are going to try an alliance. Before I started this stream and saved this game yesterday or earlier today, I don't remember. There looked like a possibility for us to ally with the Aserai, and it doesn't really matter for the campaign. I'm starting to use this campaign for some of the other stock material for side series and whatnot. But we'll experiment with an alliance because it's part of the new system, right? I want to see if we have to pay a bunch of money, right? If our nobles all of a sudden want to spend a huge amount of money doing some kind of, what they call it, call to war, right? So far side over there, 8th Corps coming in with shock troops behind them. Their poor archers are running for their lives. Let's get all of our archers moved up. When your archers are charging and they're shooting and they're way off in the distance like that, it looks like they're not even participating. Something you can do is just tell them to hold fire. That'll get them in a hurry. They essentially turn into melee troops, right? Like they're boring up. Of course, once they're close enough, then you can tell them fire away, right? And every single one of them will whip out their bow. And being champs destroy everything. This series also has been fun to explore, just the insane power of the Battanian force fully fleshed out. What I consider more mature tactics now. When I first started playing, I played Battanian. It was the very first kingdom I played. Then I had a Sturgeon campaign, and I was still fleshing out the tactics and stuff like that. And it was pretty rough, but now that we've got some tactics that are more dialed in here, and then you add these ridiculous powerful Battanian units. It's just kind of a mosh pit, right? So I'm going to let our troops actually work everything in sight here. There's a bunch more peasants coming up. We can do some RTS mode. Fast forward through this battle because this battle was never a threat and it's not going to be too entertaining for you fellas. So check the chat here while the game sound overpowers your voice. All right, let's fix that shit. I forget, sometimes you got to adjust some of these settings. How about that? Here, we'll get in here where the guys are yelling and screaming. Charge. Let's see if you guys can hear. I got to look down at the game channel some, right? There could be some guy from Tailworld saying, hey, you punk motherfucker, you can't be putting this shit on YouTube. Didn't give you permission. I'd be like, I'm over-caffeinated, didn't follow directions. I didn't know. It looks like it's good. I'm waiting for the patch to go live. Yeah, there's been actually some mixed signals from Tailworlds. Initially, it did sound like 1.3 was going to go live earlier than the DLC for console players. The latest thing I'm hearing, and you guys sad face, right, face palm, is that 1.3 is going to go live with the DLC for the consoles, that's kind of sad because it means that you're maybe a ways off. Although, who knows, right? This 1.3 update did kind of come out of nowhere. Let's start executing some people here. So 1.3 sort of came out of nowhere, surprised a bunch of us. All of a sudden, I was home one day and I got that note in the content creator portion of the Discord that Tailworlds invited us to, and basically said it's out tomorrow, right? And I misread it. Anyways, that came kind of out of nowhere. I think the DLC could do that as well, right? It's possible that the DLC is released a week from now or tomorrow or something like that. I think it behooves Tailworlds to build up more hype, so maybe they'll give us, a week or two notice, but you just don't know what they're going to do, right? So my hunch, if you guys are curious, I am a gambling man, I'm a betting man, and here's our big other army. Look at this shit, this is rad. It'll be interesting to see what he does. We may micromanage him a bit here, going to a point, it says. Usually they tend to do dumb shit unless they're defending, right? You don't really want them sieging. We'll talk about that a little bit if he does dumb shit. Let's head south here. Let's look for targets. Let's do a little diplomacy update here for those curious. I've basically just declared war with everybody. I'm like, fuck all these guys. Let's do war with the Sturgeons too. We want action for this campaign. But the DLC could come out of nowhere, so stay tuned for that. And I'm going to do my very best. Don't tell my boss I'm going to call in sick if the DLC gets released like out of nowhere and I'm working. I'm gonna stream it like from the get-go. We're not going to do like a heavy-duty campaign, but we're going to be, we're going to definitely be exploring the DLC deeply. I'm very excited for it, but I'm also, if I'm perfectly honest with you fellas, I'm a little bit I'm a little bit nervous. It's extraordinarily ambitious because we're talking about an intense amount of stuff to figure out and to implement. Ship combat. Okay, who controls the ships? And then guys get knocked into the water and pathfinding, and hundreds of troops on the ships boarding each other. How do you command them, right? Who's in charge of the ships? The same person is not going to be in charge of the ship that's fighting and stuff like that, right? So it's I'll give them credit for being ambitious, but I am worried that the implementation's either going to take them forever or it's going to be rough around the edges. The other thing I was going to say, I'm a gambling man. My guess is that the DLC is mid-November. I don't know if that makes you guys sad or not, but I think based just kind of on the action they're showing us so far with, and this is where you really miss the better time mod, right? We're just plodding through. We have, well, we're not too overburdened. We've got a little bit of food here. You know what? Here, let's look at this. I think the option was there. So I think it's going to be delayed significantly, but we'll see. Here we go. Let's try this shit. I wonder if they're going to ask for a bunch of money. This is the state of our Battanian campaign, right? It's basically world-conquering shit. We're against 6 other kingdoms and we're expanding well. We're making tons of cash. Let's go ahead and try this shit here. So our player clans are all for it. It's time to make an alliance. Now, I did this one other time before, and immediately the player clans wanted to call to war. Okay, I guess not. Oh, no, here it is, right? Call to war the Aserai against the Vlandians for a decision. Yes, sure, let's do that. Perfect, right? Because then the Aserai will be in this portion of the map. And this is what we've heard about, right? Other people have said that. I've seen people say it's 10 million or something like that. Maybe that's a different later game stage of the campaign or something like that. They want 700 grand here, which, you know, that seems, you know, exorbitant, but we're not too worried about it. We're printing dinars, and look at that shit in our expected change. We'll see if that's bugged. I don't know if that's for one day, because if I have to pay that for several days, obviously we're going to have 0, and I don't know how to fix that, right? Might even have to reload the save game here if we go to 0. All right, so just like that, we're allied with the Aserai, and they are called to war, so they need to update stuff like this for sure. The diplomacy screen needs to be much more explanatory. Right here, when I click the Aserai, it should show like a whole thing. The Aserai are at war with you, and Unquid is sending a force here. Target is here. Where would you like his armies to go? Right now, it's just sort of it's you know, it's rough around the edges, to say the least, right? We don't have any options here. All I did is basically hand over half of my gold, 108,000. It does look like the payments are separate. Maybe there's so much gold they got like a giant wagon full of it. It takes days for them to get the gold transferred, you know, down to Unquid or something like that. But evidently he's coming up here to help against the Vlandians. I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. See if it's still in the log. Yeah, has called the Aserai to declare war against the Vlandians. So you see it right below there. Unquid declares war against the Vlandians. You would presume then we would start to see Aserai forces in here menacing. Yeah, you dipshits. What's happening here? So you got lots of dipshits here. So we're sieging Pencannock. And are they actively sieging? They're actively sieging it. Meanwhile, right next door, you got Vlandian forces. Let's go up there. I hesitate to go up there because, of course, in the Vlandian campaign, we've had an incredible amount of action in what I'm starting to call the Highlands arena. There's just so much action up here that it gets a little bit noxious. You know what? It's nice. I'm looking over. I'm watching the YouTube stream. I want to see something. Oh, that's nice, man. This is something I hate about my recording software. Maybe someday I'll switch. I'm so comfortable with it, and of course we're producing a lot of content. When I do this this map zoom, and I zoom all over the map here, some mofo here is sieging one of our castles. It's super juddery because our stupid ass recording software that I use. Some guys are gonna facepalm. I'm using. I wasn't sure if that big bold language down there was someone from Tailworlds saying, or somebody saying, the hell you think you're doing? We didn't authorize you to do that. That's how surprised I was that day where they were like, you can't do that. And look at how beautiful this is. This player clan army that we made like an hour ago is just blasting. You can see what's happening here, although maybe he'll lose. He's down to 190 troops. Have to save this dipshit. And of course, this is bad, right? This is not good diplomacy. They just approved us calling the Aserai to war against the Vlandians, and then the very next day they have Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, make peace with the Vlandians, right? You would obviously, if you just paid a fortune for somebody to help you at war with the Vlandians, you would not ask for peace the very next day. To say it's rough around the edges is kind of being generous. I didn't even notice it, but they just tore through Pencannock. Let's go ahead and give this guy, right? You keep what you kill. Let's go ahead and give him that city. Doesn't really matter. This campaign is virtually on ice. Sort of the answer. And look at the shit he is. He's gonna let's let him do it, right? He's capturing Derthert. He's pretty sweet. Now these going lost. I mean, it's a bit of a spoiler. Again, I'll mention that before I go on. I'm just going to do 10 seconds here. This is 5, 6, 7 hours ahead of the Battanian campaign. So if you're one of those guys who's sort of watching it with vicarious enthusiasm, you probably don't want to watch this, right? Because you're going to see essentially spoilers. Those people that are leaving there, I think, are Battanians, because the Battanians are vanquished from this map, I think. Doesn't matter too much, but I don't want people to be upset in case they're watching this ahead of time. It's a mature army. It's a mature kingdom, right? Our kingdom now has several cities. We've got this overlord, Ioran dinars. He does owe people dinars, right? Although it looks like our whole wartime thing, the payment has come out, and we're no longer paying them, right? So I guess all the dinars have been delivered. Let's see if we get anything for it, right? In the short term, I better see some Vlandian castles and cities down here that get assaulted. Otherwise, we're declaring war on these punk-ass Aserai as well. We'll attack them for betraying us with this treaty. All right, so we've got this player clan, and let's talk very brief strategy. I'm not going to actually go through it because it would be very tedious for you fellas to watch. But this army here just got mangled. It basically a Pyrrhic victory. They defeated Derthert, and you can see right there they have 450 troops, right, give or take. I think my math is right there. 450. They had 1,000 when I first started streaming, and you would say, well, on the other hand, that's awesome, right? They just captured Derthert. Now this army is hyper vulnerable and needs to rebuild. There were patch notes in the 1.3 that said when armies are weakened, they get to a certain state, they will disband, and the troops will sort of run around by themselves and sort of build up forces. But I'm not sure that's going to happen here, right? We'll just use this as an experiment, because this army here of 180 healthy troops and 2,600 or 500 total troops when it's healthy, it's not going to be able to do much on its own. Let's head up here. We'll at least get some battle. So it's going to be interesting. All these people that I recognize names here, right? This is Battania going away. Hey, they did it. I'll be damned. All right, let's call. We don't want to. I don't need to call any of them. At the beginning of the stream, I mentioned this part. When I get to this stage of a campaign, I like making a hypermobile, slightly overburdened force and ripping around the map, because you move very quickly. This guy's dead right in front of us. These sieges, and because of that. That means we can get to battle after battle after battle. And I'll sit up here for this because we got a nice little difficult battle here. Conceivably a difficult battle. Probably not too difficult for this army. We've got probably 60-70% of our troops are tier 5 and above. Although we do have some raggedy troops here at the bottom. Some volunteers and stuff like that. But again, and I emphasize this all the time, speed kills, both on the battlefield and the campaign map. And if you can cruise around, go from one battle to another and minimize casualties, you're just permanently in action, and you're not encumbered by a huge army. You don't want to be like Napoleon in 1812. Napoleon would agree. He'd be like, yeah, make a smaller army. In fact, that was how he operated for much of his early military career. He had smaller, mobile, wicked, savage forces that just got in, blew up people, and moved out. Oh, man. We just got this level, I think, in that last battle. Let's go ahead and do this. I don't know if this guy will ever get to the medicine skill, but we might as well make a sick, overpowered character here, right? This guy's already a physical monster on the battlefield. He's starting to develop some pretty good leadership skills down here. And I don't remember what the maximum is for 5 and 5. I know it won't get to 275, but maybe one more, right? 6 and 5. I know one of them gets to 274 and everybody gets belligerent about it on Reddit and stuff like that. They're like, what the at 274 skill, of course, because it denies you this, right? But I don't know if you need 7 intelligence and 5 focus points, but it also doesn't matter too much. We're kind of wrecking shop even without that perk. Make sure we're on the normal difficulty, Bannerlord difficulty here. Also, I said it earlier, I'm running the RTS mod, which will make things a little bit faster in between sort of blowouts and stuff like that, but there's also a decent chance of a crash to desktop. And I shouldn't even have said it. You guys are going to be pissed. It's delayed. I'm looking over there. You guys are like, all right, battle. Well, there you have it. And I don't even know when I saved, so let me think what I'm going to do here. Let's see. It's such a bummer because I want to run the RTS mod. I clearly need to run the RTS mod. If it doesn't pop up on your end there, it's just showing, looks like it's just going to show a black screen. It did crash to desktop. So it's a real bummer. You know, I want to speed through battles for you guys. You guys don't want to watch battles at the end where it's like, it's clearly over. And then on the other hand, if I don't use the RTS mod, it's, you know, or if I use the RTS mod, it's likely to crash, right? So, I'm trying to think of what to do here. I tell you what, give me like 5 minutes, fellas. What we'll do here is we'll reload it without the RTS mod. It'll be a lot more stable. And we'll be back. I'm going to just continue. I think you guys can still hear me talking. 5 and 5. Yeah, so the 5 and 7 is 274. What a pain in the ass that is, right? And of course, I think that's incidental. I don't think there's some demonic Mr. Smithers-like character sitting at Tailworld's headquarters like, all these guys with 7 and 5, 274, eat that shit. I think it's just incidental, and we're all suffering. I know someone even made a mod where it was like, no, we're not gonna allow that shit. So we'll see. Apologies though, you know, this is just Bannerlord in the beta. The regular beta without the RTS mod is quite stable. I would say I crash maybe every 10 hours or 8 hours or something like that. It's exceedingly rare. But with the RTS mod, it really is like every 5 battles. Now that was one battle and out. It's a disappointment, especially because we're live here. But it's, you know, this is the kind of thing that happened, right? The mod workers are furiously working to update things. And it's just sort of par for the course, right? It's something we have to suffer through. So, of course, this time we're reloaded back up here. I'm just gonna, this is reloaded again with the RTS mod. So as soon as I can close this, we're gonna take it out. Another thing I'm willing to do for sure is, you know, maybe every other week, just do a custom battle stream where what I would focus on is essentially requests, right? If you guys want to ask for what a tactician would do with certain situations, I'm very eager to essentially do battles by request. It's a very similar concept to the Disaster of War series. Incidentally, if you've got emails and you're waiting for a response to that, I'm trucking through them. But I'm up to episode 40 now as far as cached videos, as far as videos that are done, completed, polished, and awaiting publication. And I think only 22 or 21 or something like that are released on the channel. So I'm very aware that we already produce a lot of content. I don't want to overwhelm people. I don't want to inundate the channel. And it's, you know, it's a thing, right? If I released even just half of those, that would be 9 episodes, you know, over the next day or 2 or 3 or something like that. It would be way too many. So it says commercial. Are there commercials with this? Because I don't want them. I don't want commercials on the streams. I wonder if I can adjust that here. Let's see. Well, we do streams, especially full of bugs and stuff like that. Let's just turn this shit off. I think I can go in here. Here it is. There. We're doing free 99 tonight. I like to do, you know, thank yous to you fellas, right? We're going to continue to do stuff down the road, especially the Patreon supporters. I'm going to give stuff away. My wife and I are pretty fiscally comfortable. I'm an old dog. We have no desire to be rich. In fact, I kind of find that money gets people into a lot of problems and stuff like that. So I just turned off the ads, fellas. If you still see ads in 10 minutes, let me know. And all I can say then is that it's probably a delayed effect, or maybe I can't turn it off once it's started like that. It defaults to ads because YouTube, of course, wants to make their funds too. So hopefully there are no ads. Where you guys see ads anyways, does it interrupt the actual stream, or are they on the side or something annoying like that? This is all still very new to me. And my preference, of course, would be ad-free on the Patreon. We've got almost 200 Patreon members. It's pretty incredible. Long term, there's a decent possibility about half the content or more comes out on Patreon because I have the ability to make it all ad-free. I think as long as videos don't get 10,000 views, YouTube won't monetize them. I have gotten notices from YouTube saying that they reserve the right to put ads up. They interrupt the stream. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I don't want them doing that shit. I'm literally talking, making a point, and your shit gets interrupted by an ad. I can't imagine it's making a lot of money. It says there's 49 people watching. So the Patreon, I have the ability to make ad-free episodes, right? I despise ads, but the only way I can devote this kind of time to a hobby like this and not have my wife growling at me is to make it a side job. So there's a little bit of a devil's in the detail kind of thing. But we can do streams without ads. I don't have any problem doing ad-free streaming. Hopefully we can get this shit to work, right? You guys are all fiending for some kind of battle. So am I. I think I've mentioned it before. I'm doing often save games, but now I don't know what to do. I guess we can auto-resolve against that Vlandian force. That way we don't have to fight that same battle again. It'll probably pop us right back in. Hopefully my wife doesn't come home and kick the door in and say, "Are you still nerding out and playing video games?" Find a forgiving wife, fellas. Patient, forgiving. Top 10. You want your top 10 attributes, right? Patient, forgiving. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. I don't know where those are coming from. The heart emojis. Am I doing that shit? I don't think I'm doing that shit. I see them on the side there. Yeah, so my load time is kind of slow. I have some instances where it loads up quickly. It's possible that the OBS software is making it take forever. Apologies for the snafus. I'm still working out stuff. Obviously, the crashing is not our fault. The RTS mod. If you weren't on the stream 5 minutes ago, I had a battle lined up, and the RTS mode probably caused a crash. So, yeah, auto ad blocker. Go for it. Right? We don't want ads detracting from the live streams, especially. It's almost like my game is frozen again here. We're gonna have just all kinds of technical difficulties. Earlier we had like this fisheye view. I'm not gonna be the live streamer like Jackie Fish and stuff like that. I don't have the brilliant English accent, and I don't have the time to do it. Some guys are like, "Are you gonna live stream, once a week?" My wife probably not super tolerant of that. I do a lot of my content creation at work. I'm a firefighter. It's not real appropriate for me to live stream at work because I'd have to blitz in a heartbeat and just say, "I'm out of here. I'm going." This is like locked up or something. See what you guys see. What is happening here? It is taking forever. Man, come on. We get technical difficulties. The one night I have a little bit of braveness to go live. It's not easy going live, right? All your shit is exposed. If one of your characters is half naked, or if you have like a webcam on or something like that, the next thing you know, you guys get to see that I'm playing in my boxers. I don't know what is going on here with my game. I never have a problem. Of course, earlier we had a problem streaming that we never have as well. So I don't know. Anyways, you guys have any questions? It's a perfect time to ask, since I did disable RTS mod, but that shouldn't be causing these problems here. I'm 30 seconds from just closing this out. I'm looking at the different things here. Steam, there's no problems. All right, we finally got some shit here. I should just be able to continue campaign. Man, that was like a 5-minute load time. It's possible that the OBS software, in combination maybe with something else that I have open, I don't think I have a lot of software that's open up. You know what? I have Clipchamp open. Let's close that shit. That might be eating up memory. I have a reasonably strong computer. Guys ask a lot. The PC specs are on the channel main page. If you go to the main page and click like the more button or something like that, you'll get all the information about that. Does my department know about the YouTube? Yeah, ironically, there's a couple guys sitting behind me when I was at work one day, and they're like, "Damn, dude, you're pretty good at this. You ought to put it on YouTube." And I told him he was a stupid fuck, politely. I never intended, on doing something like this, and a couple of years ago, started doing it more and more. And if you guys can't tell, I love making videos. I love making storylines. The Vlandian campaign has been a real cultivated storyline for me. I literally have, like 10 pages kind of written out, just like any kind of author would do or something like that, with all kinds of plot twists and things like that. The whole campaign has basically been planned out as far as some of the unique details. And video editing is something that I've always enjoyed doing, even though I don't do a lot of the sort of fancy meme stuff. I do like making cutscenes and attaching good music to it and keeping people guessing and stuff like that. The Vlandian campaign is going to be great. You don't want to miss this weekend's episodes. Okay, so that's why it took forever. Module mismatch. It doesn't like that we removed the RTS mode. Yeah, the guy at work, I should give him 10%, right, of whatever I'm making for finder's fee for encouraging me to do some Bannerlord. Well, you guys get to see what preceded the crash here. We'll just blaze through this. We made a big player army here. It'll be interesting to see if all the same stuff happens again. This guy was chasing an army. That was where I saved off. In fact, we'll try to do all the same steps here and see how similar they are. It's a little bit of an opportunity to test it. Let's just send troops here. I don't even remember the original result. And we smashed our way through this Vlandian force. So this is, again, spoiler alert, this is part of the Battanian campaign. For anybody who doesn't want to see, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours later from the point that we have showed most recent episodes on the channel, you don't want to watch this stream, right? We're just going to be farting around here. This campaign is not going to continue to totality. A lot of guys go through the whole map and conquer every castle. I've only done that once. And I don't even know if I captured every single location. I just find that unnecessary, right? Everybody's been to the stage. You almost get that feeling. It's like an epiphany where you're like, nothing can stop us. And that was certainly how I felt. It's be interesting to see if he does exactly the same things. If you didn't watch it, this guy sieged and took Pencannock, and then it does look like it. Yeah, Derthert. Let's attack Derthert. Right, this is like Marty McFly's time machine here. If you didn't see it, our allied force here that has a large army sieged and took down Pencannock, and then right next to him, Derthert tried to siege Lanaken Castle, and then of course, he looks like he's already running from us. Our ally came in behind him and smashed Derthert. Now he's, I don't think you want to run that way, King Derthert. We've got this doom stack. Evidently, it's not fast enough to catch him, and this is partly a consequence of us not having a lot of cavalry. He's got 150 cavalry. Yeah, we got 130. I don't know why we don't catch him. We're close. We're very slightly overburdened. I'm definitely famous for carrying too much grain and shit like that. And as usual, we got a bunch of sacks of grain that we'll just dump on the highway here. It'd be nice if a bunch of looters all of a sudden appeared there. Yeah, so he wanted peace with the Vlandians. STFU, we're in charge here. We're the despot, and we've got plenty of influence to overrule these assholes. I'm going to try to glance over at the chat from time to time, but let's kill this guy here, right? You know what? We should just leave him alone. He'll just siege Lanaken, right? I think let's do another demonstration of the AI. This is, I think, what people complain about. Look at that. Instantly, look at that. Okay, so first he's going to defend. Well, that's a better strategy. He's not going to make it there. Talked about on the channel a lot. You can watch this in real time. This city's going to crater fast. See the troops there in red? It's like 10 seconds from the point it gets to 100 troops. In fact, we're going to have the king trapped. I was hoping. Let's see what he does. I'm pretty sure if we leave Derthert alone, again, AI test. Unless the AI just has terrible scouting, which could be, right? Scouting affects how far you can see units. I guess this is sort of presuming Derthert can't see us, right? Because I'm pretty sure he's going to pop up. He's attacking Lanaken, and he's just going to get obliterated, right? This should never happen. Yeah, look, he sieged right in front of us. We've got our ally coming up here. Here, we can get a battle with our ally. We can smash Derthert. Then we'll see if this same thing happened. I think it was Remtoil Castle that lit up that we were going to fight right before the stream crashed. Now, here's the other thing change too, right? This guy, look at him. See him get hesitant? He's like, well, if you're not going to fight, I'm not going to fight. And usually what happens is they kind of get in here behind you. Now he's not doing anything. What are you going to do? You're going to help me or not? He's like thinking about it. He's like, maybe. I don't think he's going to be involved. Okay, he is involved. Well, on the flip side, I'm not sure I want to... We'll just do it. We'll just blaze right through this. Part of the reason we have the RTS mod loaded is of course, right? This battle is going to be a blowout massacre. And you guys won't benefit at all other than just, you guys get some gameplay here. Let's see if there's anything tactically interesting going to happen. So I think most people feel things like the RTS mode should just be part of Bannerlord, right? They have all these fancy new additions. They got the stealth system. They have alliances. They have all these things that maybe nobody really was super excited about, and Tailworlds is developing, when what we really want is just some of the components of the game to be just a little bit more user-friendly, right? I don't think a whole lot of people are super interested in some of the things they did, and they really wanted to see other changes, right? There's sort of a tendency for Tailworlds to spiral off into new concepts at the same time that many of the parts of the game that people would love to see them improve, diplomacy, AI, continue to sort of seem like they're deprioritized by Tailworlds. Not quite certain why that would be, but that does seem to often be the case. I talk about it on the channel a lot. You don't want to charge Vlandia with archers or with your cavalry, right? Vlandia is just custom designed to kill cavalry. Tons of pikes, tons of different units that have, pokey things that just crush and smash cavalry to bits. So we can just do a little bit of archers here. I don't really want to fight these battles in an intense manner. Right? This battle, I guess we could try to kill the king here while our forces just ragdoll everything. Is that his ass? Oh. He's like, what was that? Something went flying right by my ear hole. Let's put him on the ground, right? We've got our sledgehammer. His knights aren't too big of a deal, right? We can batter some of them to the ground. At least he's backing up, right? The AI at least here is doing something sensible. The king is like, the king's under attack. Let's pull back, right? That's not terrible. His knights should go crazy though around you. Like when you get near the king, all of his knights should just go crazy, berserk, regressive, right? Just protect the king. You picture the scene from Banner or from Braveheart or something like that. Yeah, they're not just gonna stand there and watch their king get plowed down, but very frequently they will just kind of mill about like it's no big deal and just watch the guy get mowed down. You're gonna get killed here if I stay here by myself too long. But this battle doesn't mean anything, and this is what I mean, right? I don't wanna plug through this battle here. We're just not even doing tactics. Yeah, I'm gonna hit that button a lot because that's the RTS mode button. Getting stabbed for half my health. That's normally, that button there normally for me is a quick key to fast forward through these episodes. We don't need to show you tactics in a battle where we're gonna win, even if we're away from the keyboard. This should be part of the base game, right? Even if it was just a 2x speed automatic, you hit a single button and everything speeds up 2.5 times. That should just be an automatic feature. And I can't imagine it's that hard to code, right? If modders are doing it, Tailworlds should be able to. And that's not the kind of thing that was part of our top 5 list. They asked for content creators' top 5 list of both bugs, problems with the game, but also, things that we would like to see adjusted, right, with 1.3 DLC and beyond. And that wasn't even one of them. It was things like give us better AI, combat AI, give us better diplomacy AI, give us, a bunch of different things, right? A lot of them are things that you guys also want to see. We'd like to see a little bit more impactful events, right? The events are a cool idea I talk about all the time. They need to be a lot more consequential. By now, we're all familiar with them. And most of them just don't mean a thing, right? You can tell guys to eat shit and, your relation goes down a little bit, but the relations don't really have a major impact on the game either. So you're just kind of, plowing through a sort of empty system where it doesn't really have a major impact on the game. And obviously that needs to be changed. But this too, it gets really bad. The worst is probably against Khazate, because their horse archers and cons guards will kite you to the very end of the map, and you have no ability to say, I want to end the battle. We could do this right now at this stage. This is probably the fastest way for us just to speed it up, right? His forces are basically destroyed. Send troops, click that button, and we can move on. Let's find a real battle here today for you guys. I was talking right before it crashed also about these other armies. My philosophies on this. It's not that important, but when you get to what I consider mid-late game of a campaign, I think you do want to use some intelligence when it comes to your other player clans, when it comes to your other player clan armies, right? This guy, he gets his city, took Pancanic. What I would prefer to do most of the time is keep a lean and mean army of somewhere between 500, 800 maybe. If you're not super proficient at tactics, maybe 1,000. Because most of the forces you're facing are going to be something you can handle with a force that size. If you have a force of 2,200, you are just plodding through the battlefield map, right? You just can't move anywhere. You're mega encumbered. Even here, right? We're still kind of slow. There's all these fucking trees. I think they did slow it down too. I think overall campaign map speed is slowed quite a bit. I think I remember reading that in the patch notes, and especially without all the mods, right? And you console guys are like, shut up already about the mods. Most players of the PC use something called a better time mod, where you can click this button here, and I think it's optional up to 100 times, right? Which can be a bit overwhelming. But here, I just feel like I'm a snail. Like it's gruelingly slow, and this is as fast as it'll let me move. And we're going to be very close to making it here. Doesn't matter too much. Whatever's there, we'll just trap them outside too. Don't really want to fight at night either. Okay, that's actually just fine. Prefer to have some battles here. Interesting to see what happens here. Our other army may get attacked. It says they're besieging. Yeah, see, this isn't bad AI. This is horrendous. Right? This guy, he came down here like a blind dipshit. This army's like, I don't know, what do you call that in game distance, right? It's 2 inches on my screen. It can't be more than like a mile, like in realistic, any kind of measurement you want to make. And right in front of this army that's bigger than him, he's sieging this castle. And this army's like, oh shit, this guy's a dead man, right? He's going to definitely attack, I think. Unless somehow he has a stronger force. Nah, he's going to get attacked. Yeah, engaging. He's just pouring right in, right? So we can rescue him. But this is the kind of AI guys are talking about, right? There's no way that should happen. Like that general would definitely be recalled. The old-fashioned term would be recalled in disgrace, right? It just makes about as dumb a decision as he can make, and your army here is for sure destroyed, right? If I wasn't in the region, this guy's obviously toast. So another battle where unfortunately we're significantly advantaging the enemy here, and it's just going to be, I mean, at least we have stunning, spectacular lighting here, but it's another battle where tactics are going to be insignificant. Let's go ahead and at least run some competent tactics. My 8th Corps, for some reason, is whacked out. We'll do a little division here. I like 2 equal cav divisions. It looks like we have most of our divisions are where we want them to be. And you can't complain about the lighting, right? We only ask that they would do some of the game anywhere close to as amazing as the lighting in the game. That is simply breathtaking. I don't even want to fight. I just want to sit, have a picnic up here on the side of the hill. All right, so we've got a Northern Empire force to destroy. Talk about all the time on the channel. When you have range superiority, you just have all the control over the battlefield. Their archers, of course, are already pincushioning me. These ultra-athletic archers, they're all just dead shots. And they're charging us. I'm not sure why they're doing that, but that's not a good decision, right? That's probably the worst thing they could do. We have just tons of ranged units. We have effectively a kill box here in the valley. We'll get a cav division over here on a wing. They're just boring in, too. Their troops are pouring in here like they're the ones that outnumber us. Kind of strange. They're doing all that, and then their other forces are sticking back. So this is the kind of stuff guys are talking about. But the lighting is great. Make the rest of it elite, right? And you'd have one of the best games ever made. Most people love Bannerlord. Most people who play it think it's great. A lot of people come on and they're like, my life is over. I'm addicted. This game is taking over my life. And with theoretically 10,000 hours, I tend to agree. It's a great game. It's a role-playing game. It's a command game. It puts you right into the medieval era with guys drinking mead at the tavern. And then the AI is worse than preschool level. Well, let's do some savage shit here. What archer divisions? Let's move an archer division up the hill here. The AI is trying to joust with us at range, and they can't, right? Because they just don't have our ranged units. They got some horse archers here. That guy made an impossible block. These guys are all trying to hit me with javelins. And they're accurate. These little fuckers now, these guys, they will kill you at a distance, right? It's incredible. He got off his horse and instantly he's ready to throw more javelins at me. Now, we have a decreased ranged taken banner. That's something that I think is going to be indispensable. Look at some guy at a huge distance away hit me in the head. just casually drilled me in the head with his javelin. It's really kind of obscene how accurate these units are with their ranged weapons. They were already powerful, right? Who didn't think that ranged units were strong before this change, right? And now it's just like, whoa. I got units running all over the battlefield. I don't have my normal setup here. I'm not getting my pre-battle setup here, so we're sort of going into these kind of sloppy. It's all right. I have no idea why these cavalry are charging, for example. Some skirmishers on their side here. I had an episode earlier today where we made a big tactical snafu right in the middle of an episode, and what's going to be great about it is we made a nice transition recovery, essentially. Tactics are hard, right? Guys come to the channel sometimes and they're like, I have no idea how you're doing some of this stuff. Sometimes we fuck up, right? And a lot of those episodes you don't see, right? They just don't end up on the channel. Bannerlord is hard, and you're definitely going to make mistakes, right? Practice makes better. There's no such thing as perfect. But that's one of those things that's just going to happen, and this is a good example here. My units were sort of out of order from the beginning. I didn't get my initial setup, right? Your initial setup is super important because you come up with your coherent plan in that stage. When you don't have an initial setup, you can't assign the units exactly where you want. You can't make them the sizes you want and stuff like that. And so things get a bit messy, but it's also sort of the true tale, the true measure of a good commander, somebody who's kind of arrived as a commander, is the ability to adapt, right? If you can adapt, then you can deal with mistakes. Then you can make mistakes and just keep on trucking. Hopefully we get a few more battles here. I would love to have a couple big battles for today's stream. I don't hear anybody pounding on my door yet. My wife's not home, wondering why she married me. So we've got a little bit of time to play here. But we're just continuing to explore 1.3 in this stream. Again, for anybody watching, this is part of our Battanian campaign. I'm going to turn this campaign into essentially feeder stock for our various different side series. We are going to run the companion series for that. I think I released a new episode today at some point or other. And we're just going to try to show some of the things I've learned about developing companions, arming companions, keeping them alive, using them offensively in battle, things like that. All right, finally, this force is out of here. Even with all those tactical mistakes, 28 casualties, that'll do, right? I mean, that just kind of shows you the value of tactics. Even though it was messy, it still worked. Let you guys savor the sunrise one last moment here and call it good. In our companion series, we're doing some odd stuff, like taking our archers and removing their bow and arrow and putting them in a shock troop division to level up some of their skills. We're going to try some very different things over the course of that, just to give you guys some options to level your companions. Some guys don't give a shit, right? They're just content with their companions as is, and other guys really want to build a Doom Squad with their army. Right? You want to have a bunch of companions that are running around level 28, 30, maybe above 30, right? I've had companions above level 30. That's a thing. And so we're going to try to give you guys some power leveling shit for that. Let's see here. This is what I mentioned earlier. Let's do this. Let's see if it fires up the same. So we can make an alliance right here. And I think the constituencies of an alliance are pretty simple. As long as you're not at war, or at least as long as you're at war with somebody they're at war with, here we're both at war with the Western Empire, you can go in here and click this button. It costs you a little bit of influence. The last time all of our allies here were on board with it. I think we'll do a quick save game. That way, in case somehow this craters, we can jump right back into this. And we'll do it right after this. So this happened last time. This is the call to war. This seems to happen immediately after you request an alliance. You have basically 2 days to decide whether or not you want to spend a huge amount of money in an alliance to ask for your ally to help you in combat. Let's see what it says. Same thing. The numbers are pretty similar too. I don't remember exactly what they were, but this is basically, the council's all gathered together. I got these companions, and we're deciding whether or not to pay a huge amount of money for the Aserai to help against the Vlandians. Of course, we want to do that. And down here, you see, oh shit, this is cool. We'll see how this affects the game. So we just called the Aserai to help us with the Vlandians. Let's go to this screen. They just declared war. Where is this shit? Right here. There, I can make this bigger. They just declared war on the Vlandians, right? Unquitted, the Aserai declares war on the Vlandians. Lucan of the Vlandians have called on the Northern Empire to declare war against the Aserai. So we're already at war with the Vlandians. And now the Vlandians have told Lucan, we want you to fight the Aserai. So this is almost like World War I, where all of a sudden all these alliance clauses started happening. If you don't know anything about that, there was an assassination of a guy. I don't remember his name, but it was basically one prince. And then different countries were like, well, you got to help. You got to help. No, well, you have to help. Well, then you have to help. Hey, you said you would help us if we were attacked. And the next thing you know, the whole fucking Europe and everybody's fighting each other because one guy got assassinated. That's the nature of these alliances. And this is cool. So basically now the Northern Empire that's kind of tucked up in here is at war with the Aserai. Now, I don't know. That's sort of why I'm starting today's stream. Are they going to send forces down there to specifically attack the Aserai? If you look at the campaign map, that's pretty far out of their reach, right? So I don't know what they're going to do here. I'm not going to worry too much about this shit. Like there's our ally here. It's interesting. I can see his numbers exactly as if I was standing right there, right? Normally you can't see stuff that's away from your guy. My guy's way down here and I can see this guy. He's probably going to get captured. In fact, let's do a little experiment. I'll bet you guys $10, not actual bet, but gentleman's bet. I bet our companion army here gets captured because you look at the constituencies here. He's got 500 troops. He's sieging a castle against 200. If nobody helps, he might be all right. But if even a couple of Northern Empire armies, 150 or 100 each, come to defend, he's going to get captured, I think. We'll see how that happens. A little side thing to watch there. So it's going to be interesting, right? Theoretically now, what you have is a 2-on-2. We're at war with other kingdoms. I'll just show you the diplomacy map again. We're at war with a lot of people here. At this stage of the campaign, I'm just throwing the middle finger out the window at everybody. Southern Empire, Khazate, the Western Empire. And what's happened is right now, the Northern Empire and Vlandia is effectively allied in a 2-on-2 war against us and the Aserai. Now, I don't want to give you spoilers, but that's something I really want to film, both for a live stream or for a channel. Is a two-way, is a four-way battle or a 2-on-2 battle, right? Where there's, two armies on both sides. In other words, all four kingdoms end up in the same battle. That's probably going to be a rare occurrence, but that can definitely happen now because, of course, of this new system. I don't know if we want to fight this army. Oh shit, that's a lot better. Now they got 1,000. We got ourselves a real battle here, and as long as we get there before the castle siege starts, we'll be able to actually, we're probably going to start sieging it before we can get up there. You do not get to enter your pre-stage of a battle unless you get there before they start sieging the castle. So now it's going to be night. The timing here is just bad. There's two different Vlandian forces. I think what I'm going to do instead is not intercept them. It would be at night. I would not be able to set up our army divisions. We want to have a little bit of tactics for today's episode, so I'm just going to let this castle fall. It'll take like 10 more seconds here, and then I'm going to bait these two Vlandian forces into fighting us. Now this happened in the previous example. If you weren't here, we had a crash to desktop using the RTS mod. This is really needs to be fixed, right? There's, for some reason, if there's a guy in Tail Worlds who's watching this, you can't have our nobles 2 days ago request to spend, 1 million dinars to call the Aserai to war against the Vlandians, and then 2 days later say we would like peace. They should not be doing this, right? This doesn't make any logical sense. It'd be like World War II, the allies throughout Europe say, hey, America, come help us. And then 2 days later, Europe declares peace with the Nazis while we're gearing up for war. It doesn't make any sense, right? So we're going to say no. And I think we can overrule these fucks. I hope so. We oppose making peace at this time. Now, we've got the influence to tell all our nobles here to eat shit. If we haven't covered it already, we do cover a lot of the perks in the Battanian campaign. Perks are an enormous part of the game. You can see some of our active policies here. I'm not going to go over them during the stream, but some of these are super important. The most important thing you're really doing with perks has to do with loyalty. A lot of guys struggle with loyalty. Your towns are all rebelling. You take some town somewhere, maybe it's not one of your own culture. These perks are very important for that. So that's just something you want to pay attention to. Either in that campaign or future episodes, we'll try to cover perks somehow. there's so many different parts of Bannerlord, right? It sort of becomes dizzying. There's this and that and perks and caravans running all over the place, and then they add a stealth system. We're getting deserters here from a garrison for some reason. I don't know if they'll come play with us. We have a very powerful army. They're in there healing up. I wonder if they're just going to sit in there and hide. Look at them. They really do look like they're going to hide in there. Man, this is painful. I wonder if I have to literally ditch some troops here just to get a battle for this episode. We had a good battle set up earlier. Actually, is this the same guy? This is it. Damn. And we're not going to make it there either. What can I do here? Let me think. What's our force look like? Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. All right. Here we go. These Vlandian forces won't attack us. It's 900 against 564. All right. So I'm going to take some troops in this guy. Let me inspect your troops. He's got some good troops. This is why the guys are running. Let's steal some of his troops here. Let me get some of these Fiend champs. Some of these Sergeant crossbow. We'll need some ranged weapons if we're going to try this. And then let's give some of this guy some of our scrubs, right? We'll basically turn our own army into an all-star team here because I want a battle for today's stream. We've had kind of a snafu stream. If you've been watching the whole thing, you know that. The guys who joined late didn't see the crash probably. We've had all kinds of issues, and I want a battle here. So we're going to disband this guy. Fuck off. You're too loud for us. Now we'll see if this Vlandian force comes out. Now there's 400. Are you guys seriously going to just sit and hide in your closet? Our 400 is just terrifying these Vlandian forces. Really? I guess it's because their armies shrunk. And really? Now she's eager to fight us. It's really a shame. Because, of course, we're hoping to have a good battle. This is not going to be a good battle. I guess we can show how bad we can blow out a Vlandian force here. But we're hoping to get, at least a couple big battles for this episode. And it's not participating. And this is also, of course, this is the nature of a content creator. You guys see the big battles or the gnarly battles. For every hour of content that we have on the channel, there's probably 5 hours of just not worthy content where it's going to be like this. Yes, I'm saying this is not worthy. You should probably X out and go watch, some Netflix or something like that. You get a lot of, just kind of funk and stuff like that with a typical campaign. And that's partly a function of the RNG. Partly a function of not great AI. Here they could have attacked us with both armies. They were afraid to attack us with both armies. Then when they finally did engage, for some reason, she attacked by herself and didn't get any help. It really sort of is like a series of calamities, just major mistakes by the AI. Our allies want war against the Aserai. Let's pay a bunch of money for the Aserai to join us in war. Hey, we need peace. Right, or with the Vlandians rather. We need peace with the Vlandians. Let's get peace. It's like we just spent a million dinars to go all out war with them in a huge alliance, and now you guys want peace. Okay, right, these are the kind of things that hopefully they can iron out. They really need to, otherwise a lot of the guys are going to continue to say the same things that they've been saying about Bannerlord, which is effectively it's a great but highly flawed game. It's all trying to kill me as usual. Little spear boys. We've got our legendary sledgehammer. I've been using this for a little while. I love a blunt weapon. I think it's fun just to knock the foe all over the place. But it has been nerfed, and as far as I know, they have not fixed the custom weapon side of things. Right? As far as I've heard, I have not experimented because I have not done any smithing. But what I hear consistently is that guys will make a custom weapon, and then when they reload a save game, like all of the attributes are gone or the name is changed or something. Basically, it's irretrievably bugged. So if that's happening to you, be aware that bug is probably well known to Tail Worlds. And hopefully they are furiously working on it. Also, the rumors more and more are starting to sound like they are not going to be releasing 1.3 for consoles before the DLC. I mentioned it earlier. If I was a betting man, I think the DLC is at least a couple months off. Guys are like, well, it's early fall. Well, I'm a gardener, friends, and I can tell you that is a highly subjective term. I'm part of all kinds of garden groups, and one of the garden groups I'm in is it's got a guy from Atlanta, Georgia, right? That's a friend of mine, and his early fall is like early November. right? It all depends on your climate. And Tail Worlds, of course, I think they're located, at least in part of if Turkey, if not, I'm not actually sure what city, but, you know, most people think Turkey. If that's the case, then, you know, maybe their fall is December 5th or something like that. There are places in the world, like California, the fall, there is no fall, right? The maples and leaves don't even change in parts of California, right? So it's highly subjective, and they've already delayed it once. With how ambitious a project it is, I think it's very probable, as our shock troops here roaring on the enemy's side, skirmishers attacking the center. I'm just dragging cavalry around. This was never going to be a battle that we really struggle in, which is why I wish there were more foes here. We could probably handle 1,200 with this army. It's not quite a monster doom stack because we do have some scuzzy troops, but not very many. And again, we lack the ability to do the RTS mod. That little button there, I'm going to let our guys do their thing. I can't speed it up anyways. It just makes sure, right, that I'm not missing. I probably am. I'm missing probably all kinds of questions. 72 fellas, man. I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. If you're curious, my wife is out. She's busy working all day, so we're letting the wife work while I play, smashing some foes here deep into our Battanian campaign. And unfortunately, our army is so strong, we're just kind of blasting everything, which is why we're sort of seeking a real challenge here. I guess one of the ways you can do it is just siege a city, right? And the enemy will wait until they have a huge force usually, but they might attack with, you know, barely more than ours. And I guess also we could just dump some of our elite troops, right? We can all the guys who are like, oh, it's fiend spam. Here, let's just make it easy, right? How do I want to do this? Let's at least keep them within our kingdom here. We'll call this guy to us. Guess what? I've got a bunch of fiends for you. In fact, that's what we should have done, because maybe then those armies would have fought us. We'll just give this guy, let's take his worst troops here. A bunch of volunteers and highborn youth and stuff like that. And then this guy can have all our fiend champions. There we go. We don't need them. Long ago, we actually ran a whole series basically covering how you don't need elite troops to win at Bannerlord. If you have tactics with the mediocre AI, you really can smash the enemy with tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 units. We've done a lot of examples of that. And it's testament both to the strength of tactics, but also the weakness of the AI. It really shouldn't be a thing without exceptional circumstances. All right, so that's probably better to now go roaming around with this force. This force is a composition of different forces because we were doing, I was doing some flanking tactics yesterday with shock troops. This is a new little feature. We got troops deserting. And I'm trying to think of what happened here. I think I wasn't following it very closely. Obviously not very closely. Maybe that was before the stream crash. Now I can't remember. The other army looks like they're disbanded. I don't know if they got captured or if they got disbanded, but it's only us now. And more armies of 300 coming up. Man, when you play, you know, modded Bannerlord, especially like the Vlandian campaign, and the armies are 2,900 with Vlandians and souped up lords, and then you see 300 and half of them are tier 3 and below. It's a different game, right? Yeah, I feel like a Sherpa jogging around the track at sea level. I got lots of oxygen. Now, I haven't seen anything light up down here. Again, just to reiterate for anybody watching who's curious, this is half a diplomacy test. I haven't really run a lot of this, but we have multiple effectively alliances here. We called the Aserai to war and said, attack the Vlandians. Almost immediately, the Vlandians then turned around and asked the Northern Empire and said, hey, we want you to declare war on the Aserai, right? So you had essentially an alliance system, right? The Aserai and the Vlandians, or excuse me, the Aserai, the Northern Empire and the Vlandians are coming after us. Now there's 1,100 there. All right, we can at least get some action here, hopefully. But I haven't seen anything happen here. You would assume our 700,000 that we spent on the Aserai would at least give us a siege or two. I better see a siege or two pop up here. Well, there you go. So it's working, right? It's kind of working. There you go. 600 Aserai forces. I was just complaining. I guess the squeaky wheel gets the grease. It's not very much, right? If that's all I get for my 700,000, I'm going to save my money next time. Unquid is leading sort of a pathetically small army. Hopefully more armies are coming to him, right? 600 is, that's pretty inadequate. Also, that has been changed, and I'm surprised it hasn't really affected this today. During this campaign, we've seen some large armies, 1,500. I think we saw 2,000 once. The Sturgeons had a force over 2,000. The Northern Empire had a force way over 2,000. And Unkwood's captured here, right? You guys see what's going on. I don't know why we can see this far. These must be bugs. Look how far away we are from here. And for some reason, I mean, unless our satellite links are up, right? It must be working. I'm way over here, going to head in this direction. There's a huge force there, which is good because we'll at least get a battle. And for some reason, Belgair here is visible. It's like, all right, I want the missile to be fired right here. Delta 6429, you are clear. Code red. Destroy the Vlandian force. It's like we're watching this in slow-mo. This Vlandian, or this Aserai force has not started sieging yet. In fact, I can see all their little siege walls being built here. And that Vlandian force is probably going to destroy Unkwid because he brought way too small a gun to this party. Again, sort of perplexing that it continues, the AI continues to do suboptimal stuff here. Let's see, we're going to have this in daylight. Again, I'm not going to be able to set up my army divisions, I don't think. Again, just for this point, for the newer players especially, if you ever wonder why you enter a battle and you don't get to set up your units, when a siege is already undergoing, and the way to look at it is the troops there, 154 plus 67, this castle siege is being actively assaulted. And picture the first stage, they're building all their ramparts, they're building their siege tower, their ram, they're at a distance, right? Like Saladin in Kingdom of Heaven, they're preparing for it. Now they're actually sending guys over the walls. It'd be cool if there's a little animation, like little dudes putting up ladders and shit like that. But the noise you hear and the numbers going down is indicative that the siege is ongoing, right? That means that this siege is already happening, and I'm almost certain when we hit that button, it's just going to toss us right in without the ability to change our units and things like that, without the ability to survey the scene, which doesn't make sense because I'm right out here. I've got all the time in the world to survey the scene. It would be like Theoden and his troop coming up at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, and they're like, all right, put your blindfolds on until you're ready to charge. You ready to charge? All right, take his blindfold off. Now he can see. We shouldn't get tossed right in here. I should, if anything, I should have the ability to like see where I can flank these guys and stuff like that, right? I should have some kind of advantage because they're the ones that are preoccupied with the siege. I shouldn't just be, oh, well, you just got to complain enough shit. And Tailworlds is, they're doing some shit. So at least we get our setup screen here, which is good, right? Because we want to do some tactics here. We're outnumbered. It's not going to matter. I hate to ruin the suspense for you. This force is pretty well honed. I guess I better not say that, though. We do have some weaker troops, but it's also, look at that shit, right? It's pretty sick. That's our 4th Division, so crossbow. I mention it all the time, but just in case there's a couple guys that don't know, it's really nice to have a crossbow division because they can do this. They can square. Those guys can charge in a shield wall. They can play defense for you. And also importantly, because they run out of ammo early on, if you keep them separate from your archers will still have ammo and you can keep them as archers. Most archers have 2 bags of quivers, at least most higher end archers. And you can use that shock troop division in many different ways after the battle starts. In fact, when I look at our army constituency here, there's a ton of shock troops. This is a side effect of our shock troop flanking, I guess we'll call it episode. We're doing an episode where we're trying to power level companions and showing some savage flanking tactics. And so our army has way more shock troops than normal. Well, we can use them here in a couple different ways. One of them is to use cavalry as our infantry. In fact, I think that's what we'll do here. 2, 3, 8. Let's do that. All right, so archers here, we're going to set them up on the wall. This is, I consider this almost a famous battlefield. This is one of the best reverse slope declines in the game. It doesn't actually matter what the enemy has. Reverse slope decline is best against archers, but it's not going to matter, right? We're going to be able to do some sick things here. All right, so we got skirmishers here. We're going to dismount cavalry on this right side, and it'll be very temporary, but we're going to borrow their cavalrymen. Decrease taken ranged attack damage. It'd be better if our dude was leading that. Increased. No, actually, it's just fine. We'll use him. So this 8th Corps Cavalry, I'm just going to put the cavalry there kind of in a double thick wall. We'll give them a few more troops than normal. And we're going to use them as a defensive square because we don't have a normal 1st Division full of shield guys. See all these pole arms in here? It's almost like we have 2 shock troop divisions. I'm sure this 3rd Division is just packed with shock troops, right? Shock troop. And most of them tier 4 and 5. This is an extraordinarily powerful army. Maybe before the stream, I should have just melted our army into a bunch of low-level troops. We'll probably do that at some point, right? We'll do a challenge night where we run around with just a ghetto army and see what we can do. Again, kind of amazing lighting, but in this case, I wish it was a little bit more visible for you guys. All right, we'll hold fire here with our 6th division. That's our skirmisher division. I like to hold fire with the crossbow guys too. The other units can shoot, right? Your archers is not a big deal if they shoot, because some are fiend champs, others are other high-end archers that have lots of arrows, as we've already mentioned. All right, 8th Corps off their horses. Just stick them in a square over here, right? Just going to use them defensively on this side over here. Let's see what they're doing first. I should have waited. Yeah, they're coming in hard. All right, let's put our 2nd Division of Cavalry right up on this ridge here, and let's get shock troops right behind them. A classic strategy there. Your shield and shock. It's so deadly. Also telling the shock troops to hold. You don't want them wasting ammo. Or not wasting ammo, but in this case, you don't want your shock troops throwing those ghetto throwing weapons. It's a huge mismatch. For whatever reason, they gave shock troops little tiny, almost like they're hobby axe throwers. There's no point. Has virtually no damage. If you have 300 of them, I guess you could kill a few troops, but you'd much rather have your shock troops wailing away with their giant two-handed axe. And I'm not a big fan of throwing axes in general. All right, so we dismounted these horses, right? So what are they doing? They're eating a bunch of grass. If you have an enemy that's sort of hesitant like that, what you got to do is make sure you don't have troops in line of sight. If you're doing a reverse slope decline, and in this case, the enemy has a fair amount of archers, 205 archers. You see it right above my helmet there. If they could shoot any of your units, they won't come over the ridge. So we've got a ridge here. This is going to be an utter massacre. I mean, we may not. I'll make a prediction. We lose 30 troops this battle. We've got a reverse slope decline. We've got powerful forces. We've got brilliant sunshine here to kill the enemy. This is going to be gruesome. I am a fan of the old long-range javelin throw. This guy's got the 250 skill too, right? He's drilling guys right through their shield. Now, 6th Division, let's pull these guys over as well. Here comes the cavalry. And again, it's nice. We have this milled about cavalry just to slow down their charge, right? Their guys are going to come in here and run into horses. Breaks up their charge significantly. We squared our 6th here just for a little extra protection. Their cavalry came in, got decimated. Now they're running for the hills. The rest of their troops are being appropriately concerned, right? They're not thrilled. They saw that. They're not thrilled about that. When you have a square like this 1st Division, it's nice to put that out there towards the cavalry. I should have used these skirmishers like this, right? You skirmisher division, put it behind your 2 squares, because the AI is very likely to come and attack your 2 different squares. So we have these squares, the 2nd and the 8th, right? I think I got those right. Not the 2nd. That's the 1st and the 8th Corps. And now we just wait. This is where, of course, I definitely wish we had the RTS mod. You know, we're essentially compelled to wait. The AI will sort of sit there. They're hoping conditions change, right? And then you'll see them march up a little bit. Every once in a while, they'll try to shoot you or something like that. They love sending cavalry in. Now, this 8th Corps is basically just a cavalry repelling device, right? I can just push it over there every time I want. It looks like they're making a little bit more of a vigorous charge here, but usually there's sort of false charges like this. There goes their hyper accurate archers. And their archers are coming up and trying to shoot. Now, a lot of our archers can't hit them. Our crossbow can't hit them at all. Let's do some fun tactics this episode. Fuck these guys. Taking forever. Wasting your time. You guys are here for some tactics. Let's push some units up here. We got a bit of a naked flank here. They're compacted. So the 2nd Division is your counter to their cavalry. You can see those little green arrows. I'll do this battle a little bit slower than I normally would. Behind them is the 3rd Division. They're there to help the 2nd Division, the cavalry, right? This symbiosis I talk about all the time. Your cavalry help your shock troops, and your shock troops help your cavalry. Now, crossbows coming in behind. No, not charge. And I just want them kind of in the flat with the enemy up on that hill. So they're being strafed by archers on that side. Now what I'm actually going to do here is bring our squares right at the enemy, right? Just, you can picture them like battleships, right? They're trucking over the hill. And the next thing you know, the enemy here, all of a sudden there's a big square in their face. And then they're like, I don't know, what do we do with this thing, right? Now I'm going to just pull it towards me. I don't actually want these squares fighting. Let's fire away with the crossbow division. I'm also going to pull the 5th and the 7th from the other side of the hill, right? We're basically going to bring these guys up. The 2nd Division also, right? Or no, it's the 8th Division. Let's bring that square over. Squares do pretty well moving. If they're kind of a mix of units, there's a lot less cohesiveness to them. But in this case, you know, since it's well, it's not really mostly. I was going to say if it's mostly shields, it does a lot better of keeping cohesion. In this case, it's very decohesed, right? Because it's a mix of shock troops. This is not an optimal setup for what we're trying to do here. Now, the 5th and the 7th, getting shot in the face. We can have these guys basically just charge in, right? Hold fire, you bring in the 5th and the 7th, a bunch of archers pouring into them. They're getting all kinds of crossfire from our other divisions here. This row of archers, right? I'd like to just stick cavalry right in their face. Here comes the rest of their forces. Now your archers are up on the hill. That's where we want them to be. And the enemy reinforcements are coming in. Now you tell them to open fire, right? So the 7th and the 5th, both of those divisions can open fire. They should be up on the ridge nicely. I like to also just drag cavalry towards an approaching enemy. They're trying to rush all these troops. Well, let's put them on their back, right? This is a great use for cavalry. Just drive them right into the approaching enemy. All our archers are setting up, getting on into good position, and cavalry just rampage through. I'm way off. What did I say, 30 casualties? Well, there's your hubris speaking. At least we're not going to lose. Part of it's impatience. We could have just sat there with the reverse slope decline until the enemy was dead. This is routing behavior, or it's, I don't know what the fuck to do behavior here. The AI is really conflusticated. The back 100 of their troops are all recruits. We're gaining levels left and right. We need more, I need more suggestions for the companion series. We are going to do Castle Siege. We're going to show fellas how to ultra power level your companions through Castle Siege. Most of that is self-explanatory. I'll try to pick a couple of 3 unique situations. We've already had one good Castle Siege. I'm not going to blow too many of the details. The companion series is probably going to have 8-10 episodes. That's the nature of my content making. I like to show a wide variety of different scenarios. If you're in a hurry and you want to learn Bannerlord, as I've said 100 times before, Strat Gaming Guide, go right to him. Subscribe. I'm a subscriber, right? Check him regularly. He hasn't been making content as much lately, but he's one of the authorities on Bannerlord. I mean, he's absolutely dug into all the different meta of the game here. And I want to just skip the rest of this battle. A bunch of recruits fleeing for the hills. But if you want, you know, more I would say details about certain things, if you want to see how it plays out during different situations, that's what we're going to stick to here. Of course, tactics as well, right? We'll definitely help you guys with tactics. We're going to be showing companion leveling through tactics, right? We've got some really cool episodes coming out with our companion series where we focus, you know, you want to level your shock troop guys. Archers are pretty simplistic to level up, right? If you just think about the concept, you just have them shoot, right? You keep them safe, have them shoot. We've already covered it a little bit in one of the episodes. That little stall right there was the AI routing. And so this battle is over. Hard to find, actually, a good battle when you have a powerful army like this, especially with Battanian, right? With all these ranged weapons. The AI is stalling out, trying to figure out how to escape to their hovel. And no drama there, I'm afraid to say. And some companions racking up some skill points here, right? And our companions at this stage are getting extraordinarily powerful. This guy, look at his bow skill, his two-handed skills going up. His athleticism, 263. This is an archer with 263 athleticism. Now, they get athleticism by getting kills shooting, right? So we've pumped his athleticism. I don't know if we'll be able to get him to that final perk, 270, was it 275, right? But he's well on his way. All right, well, we'll look for one more battle here. My wife still is not home. I'm going to do some questions here. I'm just going to park myself at this keep, take a look here. We'll gather up some prisoners. We still have just a gangbuster army here. There's not really too much that'll threaten us at this stage. And this is like in a normal campaign. I would say this campaign is over. Let me give you the overview again before I do that. Spoiler alert, this is part of the Battanian campaign, right? This campaign is for all intents and purposes over. Now, obviously, we haven't taken that much of the map. What do we have? 6, 7, 8 cities and 10 castles or something like that. But nothing can stop our army, right? We can make companion armies at this stage. We can start making more and more clans. We've made a couple so far. We can pump up their influence. They're getting married. In fact, it's a good choice, man. She's got the most beautiful eyes in all of Calradia. If you've never seen this gal here, I mean, aren't those amazing? No wonder she's pregnant. You know, they'll get married and stuff like that. This guy, look at this, is badass character. This is one of our companions. Love this shit, man. There's some character. to this character, right? She's an Aserai noble. Now she's ennobled, and that's one of her. They bring along a couple nobles, and he's got some good skills, man. I'll take this guy in my army anytime, right? Scouting, a bunch of other shit and stuff like that. But let's see if you guys have any questions, or if this shit was enjoyable or whatever. I appreciate you guys watching tonight, right? 65 guys. I don't know that much about streaming. I don't know what's good, what's bad. I disabled ads, so if you guys are still seeing ads in the last half hour, I don't know if that's something that's outside of my control, or if it was just how things started with this episode. It's been kind of a sloppy stream. I'll just give you a warning, right? This is this is not my forte. I'm an introvert. I tell guys all the time, I don't do social interactions very well, which is ironic, of course, because I'm thousands of subscribers. I had 1,900 messages on the channel last month. It gets kind of overwhelming. And some days I just want to, go take a walk in the park by myself. But I'll do the best I can, fellas, to either answer questions for the next 10 minutes. I appreciate all you guys who tuned in. There'll be more streams in the future, and I mentioned before the DLC, I'm definitely planning on streaming it. I'll probably triple check with Tail Worlds that I'm allowed to do so after our earlier snafu, but we're going to do more so in the future. Ads have been gone for some time, thanks. Yeah, so we got rid of those. I'll make sure future streams are ad-free. I don't need to make the 60 cents or whatever the hell it is for putting ads on here. The 1.3, I would say, needs significant polishing. I've mentioned this before. The DLC, supposedly, for the console is coming out at the same time as 1.3. That may be the case also with the 1.3 live release for the PC. Now, everybody with the PC is capable of just going in and opting in for the beta, and I think a lot of people have chosen to do so. The main reason to not do so, obviously, is you don't get all the mods, right? Right now, there's a handful of mods that I'm aware that work with it. I'm only using the RTS mod, and anybody who watched the stream saw it crash. It crashed about 45 minutes ago. We had a tasty battle on tap, and it just crashed. So it's still kind of hit and miss, the mods at this stage. But my guess still is November, right? I think November, the middle of November. I'll go with November 20th for the DLC release. I think they're ways off. It's extraordinarily ambitious what they're trying. And there's some tasty nuggets, right? They're releasing all kinds of screenshots and stuff like that. But I don't know if anybody has seen actual battle. If anybody's seen actual battle, I would love to, actual gameplay battle from like a trailer. I would love to see it because I'm very curious what it looks like. I'm very excited. Naval Warcraft is definitely something I'm interested in. I've done some studying. I haven't done a lot of ancient Naval Warcraft studying, more modern, whether it's Nelson and Trafalgar and other warfare throughout the 15th, 16th, and 17th century. But it's going to be really interesting to see how it applies to Bannerlord. Yeah, the bandit hideouts. I see a few guys talking about the bandit hideouts. I did hear that directly from Tail Worlds. One of the guys, one of the content creators said, yeah, we want an option where we can do bandit hideouts in any way, in either way. Essentially the new way with stealth. He said basically give us an option where we can click something in the settings where, and this is going to happen. Let's see. I'm going to head down there just in case while this stream is going. Maybe there's a tasty 4x4 that happens at the end of this battle. But Tail Worlds basically said the system right now can't handle that. The hideouts are going to be either the current way that they are right now, in other words, the stealth way where you're forced to, shoot the arrow over and signal your troops, or what's happening here? This Vlandian force is being destroyed. So let me finish that point. Or it has to be the old way. And I would imagine the only way they're going back to the old way is if there's a huge outpouring of people requesting it, right? If most people don't really care, or it's not that big of a deal, I imagine the stealth is here to stay, the stealth hideout. And I'm with a lot of you guys. I'm not thrilled about that. Look at this shit. This is actually really cool. Okay, so they got destroyed here, it looks like. We earlier called to war as part of the reason I did a stream tonight. I was hoping for some interesting shit to happen, some three-way action, right? I've told my wife I've always wanted a three-way, right? Vlandian, Aserai, and her sister. So we called the Aserai here to war against the Vlandians, and for a while it was kind of radio silence. And I was like, wait a minute, it was $700,000. It cost us a huge amount of money. and they didn't do anything for like maybe 10 days, but they've upped their game here. They're actually starting to send armies. Now it looks like now they're back. Okay. Those are different troops. So Unquid had an army, I'm almost certain, was sieging Thractori Castle here, and they got Thractorottled. They got throttled there, destroyed, and they have 2 other armies here. So it's pretty cool, actually. You get a lot for your money, right? Basically, we gave 700,000, and they're sending wave after wave against the Vlandians here. I actually think I'm kind of tickled by it, right? I feel like Unquid is a vassal. Get in there and fight. I got plenty of money. You do all the dirty work, Unquid. Get yourself captured. In fact, let's look. Let's see if he got captured. You do all the dirty work. Get captured. Yeah, take and capture. So we paid his ass, and then he's in there fighting. At least that component of it is working very well, right? You call to war. You call your ally to war, and they respond, right? So this is at least 3 different armies. Even if it's not huge armies, that's still pretty cool, right? Now, what I want to see right now is an army of 2,300 Vlandians loom up and attack them, because we will help, right? In fact, I should just be speeding this up in case that happens here. If I don't see a Vlandian force in the next 5 minutes coming to intervene here, where we can get a little 3-way action, I got to make sure we have a 3-way action before my wife gets home. Make peace with the Khazaits. Yeah, STFU. This is one of the negatives of giving your clan's influence. I'm a proponent of doing that, going in here to the clan menu and doing this shit, right? Support. They're like, thank you very much. But if they have excess influence, they have a real naughty tendency to be pacifists, right? They're like, well, let's have peace here. And they're spending tons of influence, and they're forcing you to hemorrhage influence in making those decisions, right? In denying, in turning down those decisions, which is, that's unfortunate. But that's also one of the best ways for them to make armies. Earlier, probably before a lot of you joined the stream, we had our first player clan with an army of over 1,000. And I think they didn't lose, they disbanded because they got weakened by repeated sieges. I'm not sure about that, but it is one of the best ways to sort of subsidize your player clans, is to give them money, give them troops, give them fiefs, and then generally speaking, they do a pretty decent job of making intelligent decisions. So this is also alliance related, I think. We can clearly watch. We've got our satellite links connected to Arwa here. She's hot. Hopefully it's got a good view of everything. And we can follow her as if we were standing right next to her. We're on the other side of these mountains here, and we can see where she is still. The Western Empire is just having a field day on us here while we're trying to get a battle here with the Vlandians. Oh, and here he goes again. So this he's finally using his influence to make armies, which is good. But our units are also taken captured left and right like dipshits. Fucking raiders. What? I ran right by the guy. Oops. These I've already mentioned my opinion on that. I'm not even going to talk about it. The events. I do want to talk about this. I don't know for sure. I don't know the guy super well. You never know when somebody tells you something that happened. But I think I believe him. I think I trust him. All right, let's go up here. 1,200. Something tells me it's just going to be another massacre. Should we try it with 400? You guys could say, yeah, try a crazy battle. We could try 400 against 12 something. Probably still win, but at least it would be more challenging. This guy said that he had an event where he saved... He didn't give me the specifics, and I actually lost both the name of the fellow that made the comment and the little thread of our conversation. He said that he won a battle. He said it was a gnarly battle. That was all he told me. And at the end, somehow he had an event where he got 2.5 million dinars. Now, most of us in the late game are like, so what? Money, right? We don't need money. But I do think that's interesting, because what it is it's a harbinger of potentially bigger events, right? What we really want, I think what most of us want with the events, is for them to matter, is for the events to actually mean something, not give me +2 morale and I get 1 extra troop and, I get 3 apples, right? They need to make the events major impact on the campaign. Right? You need to have the plague raid through. Would you like to execute all the villagers here because the plague is raiding through? Would you like to remove this village from the map because the plague is raging through here? Right? They need to have stuff like that. Where'd this guy go? Let's see if we can do some tracking. I don't think we have great scouting skill. is going to pop up somewhere. There's an army of like 1,000 here. It just took Uthelaim Castle. Western Empire scum. Let's try to predict where they're going. Probably not there. Probably not there. I don't know. I would have thought they would have gone here. They might go to Varchek. Maybe. Anyways, we'll see them pop up soon. You know, the drums are going to beat. Such and such took such and so. But I think that's great, right? For the events to have major substance. It sounds like there are some, right? Obviously, it's a rare event, right? This guy has evidently got lots of gold. I've never heard anybody else say it. So there's, you know, a 1% chance or whatever that he's just making shit up. But there's also a pretty good chance that there's wild events that occur. This stupid asshole is going to siege here. We will take him down. But I think, I wish there was a lot more. Actually, I wonder if that's a different army. That's Western Empire. This is Southern Empire. That's nice. We've got a very small force. This would be almost suicidal. We like suicidal though, right? We're an agent of chaos. Let's do that shit. This will be a perfect attempt here to end the stream. If we get captured, we get captured. Hey, look at this shit. This is fucking great. Call to war, right? The Aserai are going berserk here. They're just in here going sieging like crazy. Multiple armies sieging all over. They already took a couple, 3 castles. It's pretty sweet. I gotta say, I'm gonna give this a B+, right? The call to war is pretty sweet. We spent some money. It was a lot of money, but at least there's a use for money, right? A lot of people think that money is kind of pointless in regular Bannerlord, right? You just seem to have unlimited funds. And with these call to war, now this seems like there's a very real purpose to cash, right? We're going to fight this in the open. It may be a bridge battle. Either way, it'll be a nice battle to finish the stream today. We've got 22 prisoners to recruit. It's going to damage our morale, something fierce. Let's take the best ones only. Morale is not usually an issue, but you could have some of your weakest troops rout in a situation like this. And I want to get him before he starts the siege, but I want the light to do so. Damn it. Man, these guys are ruining our fun today. Well, we'll just go in anyways. What's happening is the siege has started. So just like the previous example, right, we get the whole garrison. It's almost like not worth showing you guys. At least we're heavily outnumbered here, but you guys all know what's going to happen here, right? We have 1,000 units under our control, including 400 powerful troops. It's time to put a can of whoop-ass on some Southern Empire forces. It's going to be near the Miron Island River Valley area where there's just bridges all over the place, and it's a tactician's wet dream. Now, here they're just tossing us in again, so let's make sure our 8th Corps, 2nd, 1st. Okay, at least our divisions are in good order. Now, the smart thing to do for sure would just be to roll across the bridge there. We're not going to do that, right? We're gonna play a little differently here. We're just going to pretend like those bridges behind us don't exist, right? We're going to increase the difficulty intentionally here. This rock is perfect for hiding our 2nd and 3rd Corps. As a tactician, it's a blind spot. The enemy's coming across that bridge. Their archers won't be able to see our shock troops at all. We're just going to tuck them off into the side there. Right now, we're going to set up our archers in a normal type of formation. What that usually means is spread across a long area here, right? Over on this side, we'll stick our skirmishers kind of buttressed against this rock. So we're effectively buttressing these 2 different rocks. We're going to use these 4 defenses here. Again, it's very likely that the enemy is going to attack because they outnumber us. If you've never experienced that dynamic, ordinarily, if you're about even matched here, they will play defensive and they will hold the bridge. They might even pull up short there. We'll see what they do. They sure look like they're coming in hot here. But because the AI in this situation has way more troops than us, they're very eager to fight, right? So they're just roaring forward as if we have no chance to win. Let's teach them a good lesson here. And they are coming in hot. Okay, they just pulled up, which is very wise for them. Let's stick our square out in front here. The 2nd and 3rd Corps are basically ready to kill over there. I'm going to move the cavalry past them here. We've got a giant open field scrum here, and this is exactly what the doctor ordered. Our skirmishers can just be told to fire right now, right? It's almost like shield and shock on that side over there. We've got a square out in the front to absorb a lot of their infantry assault. There's all kinds of javelins flying through the air. It's very different now. Now look at this, right? They're sending some troops to this side. They sort of see the shock troops, but they don't see how many there are, or at least the AI is not computing it very well, right? That side is just going to blitz. They're going crazy on the square. what's going to happen is that shock troop division behind the cavalry there is just going to bore into their forces and kill a huge amount of forces. Now, they don't have very many archers here, right? It's mostly infantry and cavalry. In fact, for some reason, and this is some really bad AI, their archers are way across the river, completely out of the battle. So the AI here is essentially volunteered to not use their archers in this battle. Not going to go particularly well for them. You know, you almost feel bad about it, like they're making such a bad mistake. Now, I just told our crossbow division to hold fire. This square I'm actually going to attack. There's enough guys in there with the crossbow coming up to attack. The reason I'm attacking here with crossbow and hold fire is I want to have more ammo for the next stage of this battle, right? This battle is going to have multiple stages. I got to go through here without getting mauled. That crossbow is very capable of doing damage, and we're going to move up archers here aggressively because we're going to siege this bridgehead, or at least try to. Might be too late. Let's see if we can do this. They're getting some troops across, but a lot of their troops are jammed up on it. Something fierce. We're not going to be able to do a full blockade, but we do have them really pinched here. They're going to be essentially crimped into a small area. It's going to be hard for our archers to miss. Now the crossbow gets told to fire, right? We've saved some ammo because those guys were on hold fire. A lot of those guys are going to have ammo for this next stage. Now we're going to get reinforcements, right? We're going to definitely need reinforcements. This is not the kind of battle we're going to win with just our frontline troops. Now I don't have the RTS mod, right? That tends to make me a little bit more careful in a situation like this because obviously if you lose your guy, things are going to go to shit, right? We've talked about that a lot on the channel. I have one skirmisher, so the 6th Division got massacred. And they're throwing down here, right? This is actually a pretty good, pretty strong force, right? Maybe we lose this battle. Probably not, but maybe. Let's spread these guys out. 8th Corps there is absorbing arrows. They're doing a really good job of protecting their archers. I don't know if you guys can see it, but they've got their archers in a line on the bridge. Here comes reinforcements. All right, 2nd Division coming in. Let's split these guys. Wait, it's not the 2nd. What division are you guys? Okay, they're coming in on the 4th. Let's make the 1st and the 4th archers. And let's set them up right here. But we want to plow the road, right? We're going to put 2 different huge archer divisions here, but we want to basically give them protection, right? So a bunch of archers in front of us. Let's jam a whole bunch of cavalry right in front of the enemy. They're going to get killed, but they're going to buy a lot of time for those archers. Now these guys here, back up. It's time for us to make some adjustments here. Now, cavalry's in there. The number's rapidly dwindling, of course, because those guys are getting shot to pieces. Let's see. We've got 1 infantry division. My units are getting all mixed up here. I don't know if that's a function of the battles kind of starting late, but that's all right. We'll adapt. Every horse wants to get in my way. Now, their infantry is sort of charging after our archers there. At some point or other, if they're all over your guys, tell them to charge, right? Tell them to hold fire and charge and basically make your stand, right? They do have a decent amount of strong infantry here, but it's better than your guys just charging indefinitely and getting mauled, right? Same thing here. Both of our archer divisions kind of had separate infantry divisions menace them, right? You have these guys charge. In fact, these are sergeant crossbows, so they're probably going to do a number, even on fiend champs, right? With those maces, very, very tough units. This is probably a really tough army, right? That's the only reason they're doing this well. And most of the units so far have been pretty capable. We've got to get archers over here. Let's see, 1st and 4th. Where the hell are all my archers? I'm so confused. I'm not a fan, like a lot of you, I'm not a fan at all of this new interface system. I'm like looking at it. First, I can't see the number. You see that top one up there? Those are archers, right? They just came in, and I've got these guys, like half of them are in a shield wall here. It's super messy. We got a whole bunch of militia. We do. Let's see if we can recover this. This is a mess. I got so confused with my different divisions here. I can't read that up there. Man, that was really weird. I haven't experienced that before. We might have all peasants here. Is our force just destroyed? Maybe we're just... and a huge amount of reinforcements just poured in. Why is it putting all of my units in strange divisions like that? I don't know if I've ever experienced this before. Naturally, what happens when we're streaming. We're still streaming, right? You guys watching this debacle here? All right, let's try to make something out of this. We're gonna back all these guys up. It may not work. We've got all these guys. This is disaster kind of repair stuff here, right? We'll try to pull. It looks like we've got a huge amount of recruits. Maybe this is what's left from the garrison. We've got some forces here sort of acting as a rear guard. I don't expect us actually to win this battle at this stage. We've got such a mess on our hands. It looks like the garrison inside the city was literally 500 peasants. So once our initial force, we went in kind of aggressive with our hair on fire, we sort of sabotaged the later portions of this. And it's really weird. Okay, those are archers at least. Let's see what we can do here. This is going to be kind of fun. What does the tactician do pinned against the wall like this with sort of a mess situation, right? Let's just fix some of these divisions. We've got some time here as they massacre what was left of our troops. If we make a bridge defense here with weak archers, it's probably not going to go well, right? Because we've got all kinds of troops that are just going to get destroyed at range, right? We're going to have archers and militia getting pelted. We've got to make our defense here pretty quick. So we want to make some kind of a square here. I'm trying to think where we can make a nice bottleneck. All right, so the 1st and 6th, 5th archers, let's split them 5th and 4th. And we've got to kind of hurry here, right? The enemy's going to be pursuing us. I do have a funnel here. And I have the ability to put archers down here. Let's see what we can do. Sometimes these are the most fun battles. Now, the enemy's probably got a lot more elite troops coming. So we're going to be fighting here with the scrub end of this army. It's probably not going to be able to hold out. But if it works, it's going to be beautiful. Now, I'm going to act as the rear guard. We don't have any good troops. We might as well fight all here with all militia, all tier 2 units. Let's see what we're up against here. Just a bunch of tier 5 archers and shit. Blocking everything, of course. Now, if I go down, the battle's instantly over. I do have half a health bar. And, of course, they're lethally accurate archers. And our militia couldn't run any slower. We're putting you guys on a diet? My wife's still not here. I mean, we could do a little rebuild after this. Obviously got a little bit out in front there. A little bit overzealous with an army that was mostly weak troops. You look at our composite army here. It must have been 300 good troops and then a whole bunch of trash. All right. Now we want to make sure the enemy doesn't pour around that side too hard. Got them pinched here pretty good. Let's pull these guys back. Got a nice little funnel for our archers here to just shred everything in the middle. I'm going to try to work from behind. I should probably be on foot for this. I think they just routed. It's not a good sign. Well, it's going to be a final stand. That's what it's going to be. I just looked at the power bar. It looks like they have hundreds of troops still. Fight, militia. We're going to get captured. Which is just fine. When you play with your hair on fire for stream, this is inevitably going to happen. Not looking at army compositions whatsoever. And I had a real snafu there. At one point or other, I could not tell what a division was. I don't know if you guys saw what I was talking about, but the 6th division was just not even visible. It was like the UI of all the units dying was directly in front of what I was trying to tell what they were. And I couldn't tell if they were infantry or archers. And there was a bunch of different things all compositely causing this battle. I'm going to kill some of you bitches on the way out. and the beatdown finishes this stream. It's no problem. We like to have some humble pie once in a while. I appreciate you guys tuning in though, right? And maybe we'll pick up this save game here and do a little recovery for the stream. We get a lot of requests for that. Guys want to see recovery process, right? What do you do? And of course, when you have 6, 7, 8 castles, 6, 7, 8 cities, it's really not that hard. So we actually have a different campaign that maybe fellas want to see. I'm trying to think of the easiest way to describe it. We've got obviously multiple different series going, but it's essentially an Aserai character. He's got a giant beard and a giant afro, and we're very, very early campaign. We may intentionally fight with our hair on fire until we basically suffer a battle like this where we lose, and then come out and do a rebuilding process where you're in the mercenary stage. Now, to me, it's very tedious because it mostly consists of you running around and gathering up some troops over here and gathering up some forces over here and raiding this village and gaining a few upgrades there and stuff like that. But guys want to see it, right? And so for me, it might be a little bit on the tedious side. Maybe that's the kind of thing we could do for a live stream, right? That's potentially an option. They lost because they had beards, yeah. But they probably had dresses on too and stuff like that. A pretty good ass whooping here to end the stream, but that's just fine, right? Sometimes when you have success over and over again, you got to have humble pie just to sort of... and look at this. This is... Can I leave? Don't tell me we can just leave. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, you should be captured there. You should never have all that. With the old system, you would be able to escape, right? I don't know if you guys remembered that. You would literally be able to leave and then go heal and maybe get some troops and then punish that force. This is how it should properly end, right? Not with the executioner's axe necessarily, but you should be captured, right? When you plow into an army like this, and now they start to pour in, right? Armies start to pour in. It's a little too late, right? We needed some action a half hour ago. But we're going to wrap this stream up. I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. 80 guys, man. I appreciate you guys dedicating some time to watch this goof around tonight and get captured like a bitch. We will stream again. It's not going to be regular. I can't promise you that just because of the nature of being married, being in the fire service. But especially with the DLC coming, I want to get more comfortable doing this, right? I want to be streaming the DLC within a couple days of its release. We'll be exploring a little bit, probably be getting captured by Norse lords, stuff like that. We're having babies in prison, right? Nothing could go wrong with that, right? Like have a little bit of tetanus. And a measly 180,000 gold here we get released. We'll pick this back up. In fact, maybe we'll pick up the Battanian campaign right here. At a minimum, we'll have more content coming. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. Thanks for watching. Yeah, hey, you guys are great, man. You guys keep watching the content. I'll keep making it. I at this stage, it's no problem for me to punch out almost an episode every day. So you guys keep coming by, keep spreading the word that tactics are what really make Bannerlord a great, fun game. And I'll keep making it, right? It's like a restaurant. If nobody's there, you go out of business. But if there's 2, 3, 5,000 views every other video, I'm content. This weekend, if you've never seen the epic Vlandian campaign, don't watch episodes now. But this weekend, for those of you that are waiting for episodes of it, it's gonna get tasty, right? I've got some gnarly episodes coming this weekend, so you're gonna have a good time with that shit. And that's probably going to continue to either the intro of the DLC or even beyond. And by the point we get to where we can copy characters into other campaigns, you can probably count on a lot of the campaign members and villains and whatnot from the Vlandian and Aserai campaigns being in a Nord campaign sometime down the road, right? You Patreon supporters that have characters, you're going to live on, right? You're going to live on in future campaigns. So I'm going to wrap this stream up. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm glad we had a loss. We had an ignominious defeat here with our hair on fire at the end of this. That's good for the channel, actually. All right. Thanks for watching, fellas. I'll see you, friends, next time.